In this video, I'm going to be building each Star Wars movie in LEGO, and also whatever these are. But instead of doing it the same way as every other LEGO Star Wars channel, I'm going to be doing mine where each movie will be able to fit into 3-part sections, using these Technic pins. Let's get started. For episode 1, I'm going to be building Naboo. Naboo is one of the main planets throughout the first movie, The Phantom Menace, and also the home of one of the main protagonists, Padme Amidala. I started this mock-off by plating the top, then moved on to working on the ground section where I put a lot of ingot tiles and different 2x1 and 1x1 tiles along with some 1x1 plates. Once I was done with the floor, I decided to work on the building section, which I nicely detailed with some dark tan highlights. After that, I finished up by tiling the roof. Now that the build is done, all that's left is to add the figures. Overall, I think the build turned out really nice, and I'm really happy with how the floor technique turned out. Also, I'm glad I added those pillars because that adds a nice extra detailing. Next up is the iconic planet, Coruscant. The layered city planet sort of thing, home to millions of people. I started this mock-off similarly to the first one, except I added some nice dark bluish gray highlights to add some worn texture to the ground. After that, I started on the buildings, and I didn't want them to look too plain, so I decided to add some dark red to it. Now that Coruscant is built, it's time to populate it with its citizens. Just kidding, I only added clones. This build turned out really good, and I feel like I did capture the Coruscant look. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I'll be pairing up the prequels, the originals, and the sequels into their own cool mock mashups. So with movies 1 and 2 done, we can begin to connect them together, and now we just have to build number 3. For episode 3, I'm going to be building Mustafar, the iconic lava planet where Obi and Anakin duel it out. I started by laying down some plates, same as the other 2 planets, then I decided to start on the lava, which I don't do a ton of lava, but I think this turned out okay, and then I decided to start on the mound, or in other words, the high ground. This was probably the hardest part to build for me because I don't have a ton of black pieces to work with, but I worked with what I had, and I think it turned out pretty cool. I obviously had to add Anakin and his legs running away, along with Obi-Wan Kenobi. Although this build looks a little bit messy, I think I got the point across that this is Mustafar, and it's a pretty recognizable scene and planet. Now it's time to add those Technic pins in, and then we can connect it to the other 2 builds. I also made these nice tiled off black borders that can go on either side to give it a nice aesthetic look. And with that, we have movies 1 through 3, aka the sequel trilogy, done and complete in their own diorama. But if you haven't noticed, they're actually lined up backwards, going 3, 2, 1. Let's build the original trilogy. I'm going to start off the original trilogy by building Tatooine. This sandy desert planet is pretty well known, and practically the only other planet in the 4th movie other than... To start this mock-off, I decided to use different variations of slopes to get a good rugged look on the front section. Then I started tiling off the top just to give it a nice smooth sandy look. Once that was finished, I decided to start on 2 mound sections which will be on either side of the path that I'll have Obi-Wan Kenobi as an old man walking through. And just like that, the mock is complete. I think this build turned out nice. I really like the contrast between the studied look on the hills as opposed to the tiled look of the ground section. For episode 5, I'm going to be building Hoth. Hoth is a planet full of snow and ice, and the home to the rebels for a certain amount of time before the Empire kicks them out. For this build, I didn't want to just copy and paste the Tatooine mock. Instead, I wanted to do a different look with some different wedge plates thrown in there to give a nice leveling up look. I went with the Imperial side for this, so I just put some stormtroopers running into battle. Overall, I think I captured this planet well, and I really like the explosion added in the back. And now we have episodes 4 and 5 complete, so we can go ahead and add them together, and now we just have to build episode 6. You probably already guessed it, but I'm going to be building Endor, the forested planet with the largest trees in history, along with the inhabitants, these tiny baby teddy bears. I started off this build the same as the others by plating it off, then started on the dirt area, making sure to add some roots sticking out of the side. Once that was complete, I began tiling off the ground area. Next, I started on 2 dirt mounds, which is where the majority of the plants will go. Then I placed all the shrubbery along with a large tree. And with that, the mock is complete, and now we can add the scout trooper running away from Luke Skywalker. This is probably my favorite mock in this video. I think the tree turned out great, and the shrubbery just gives it a nice, clean green look. Now all 3 original trilogy movies are done, we can add Endor to the other 2. All that's left now is to add the black borders, and the original trilogy lineup is complete. And I'm just realizing how out of place that tall tree looks. Anyways, let's head to the sequels. For episode 7, I'm going to be building Ilum. This planet is the home to Starkiller Base, also where we first see Rey and Kylo fight. First, I built up a rocky pathway with some plates, along with some studs mixed in. Once that was complete, I decided to add some snow like we see in the movie scene. Next, I built up 2 trees and placed them in. Now that the build is done, I can add in Kylo and Rey to duel. Even though it's from the sequel trilogy, I'm not gonna deny, I think the build turned out really good. And I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure this might be my second favorite. Build, not movie. For episode 8, I'm gonna be building one of the weirdest planets, Crait. This planet is full of awesome stuff like red sand, white sand, cliffs, and overall, I think it's pretty great. Anyway, I started off this mock by adding some red to the front part to give it a nice contrast between the white and red. After that, I used some red wedge plates to level up the underground area. Once that was finished, I started on the flat white surface of Crait itself, mixing in a few studs. After that, I added in some New Republic soldiers. And there we have a Crait build. Overall, this build was pretty simple, mainly just white tiles and a little bit of red, but I think it still turned out really good and I got the gist across. And now we can go ahead and add it to the previous scene. Now we just have to build episode 9. For episode 9, I'm going to be building Canto Bight, the planet that's practically a giant casino for rich people to hang out. I started this build off by adding a sleek floor. Then I added some light bluish gray ingot pieces to add a nice floor design, along with some tables. Then I added a few wealthy citizens playing some betting games. And just like that, we have a nice small casino. And now we have the last movie built, so now we can add it to the other 2. Then just add those black borders to either side. And the last 3 movies are complete. If you're still watching, thank you so much for watching to the end. Make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.